Hi friends! I'm so excited you're here today because I am going to be talking about all the books I read in June. I had a pretty good reading month in June. I definitely wasn't hitting my normal number, which is totally fine because I was very busy and I had a lot of fun with my reading in June. I had a couple of 5-star reads. I ended up doing a cult horror book reading vlog, and I'll link that in the description down below. And then I did a slasher and sharks reading vlog, which was a ton of fun. Yeah, I participated in Kelsey's, Anne Andrews, and Kitty's little Patreon readathon, and that was a ton of fun. But yeah, let's get right into it because I'm already like dying of sweating. I don't know why I wore my hair down for this. We'll see how long it lasts. But I started out the month, I did a reread apparently of the Colorado Kid. I went on to my Goodreads to like list this as currently reading, and I already read it before and I gave it 3 stars. And it's funny because I don't remember reading this before, but apparently it did, and apparently the second time too, I gave it 3 stars. This is a mystery. This is the Hard Case Crime series, part of the Stephen King series. This is based off of The Summer Man, the Australian true crime story of the mysterious corpse on the beach. But I really like the narration actually for the audio. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, just like a fun like summer little mystery. Oh, okay. According to my thing, I ended up giving it actually 4 stars. So I gave it a star higher this time around, and that's probably because of the narration, honestly. And then I read I Was a Teenage Slasher by Stephen Graham Jones, and I absolutely love this. I rave about this in my Slashers and Sharks reading vlog, and I had so much fun with it. I love Talia Driver is like a young Stephen Graham Jones. Such a unique slasher story that still has all of those fun slasher tropes that a slasher fan loves. I had so much fun with this, and it's devastating, it's sad, but it's also like a lot of fun and funny and like hilarious too at times. But yeah, 5 stars, one of my favorite reads this month. And then I read Voracious by Rath James White. This is a extreme horror novella about a new diet drug that turns horrible. And I ended up giving this one 3 stars. And then I read Sewer Sharks by Christopher Robertson, and I had a ton of fun with this one. It was very cheesy. It was almost like a Sharknado movie, but in book form, with a lot of smut. I don't want to say smut. It's more of like raunchiness, I guess is the correct term. So if you're into those cheesy shark movies, but you're like, I think it needs a little bit more raunchiness, this book is for you, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. And then I read Larry by Adam Millard, I believe. Like I forgot the author's name already. This is a slasher book about a guy who wears a pig mask. I did like the fun of this slasher taking place at a camp, and the time jumps it takes, and then the humor in the current timeline I thought was hilarious. The kids in this though were ridiculously dumb, like to a point of it being unbelievable at times, but it was really fun, and I gave it 3 stars. And then I read Ghost Shark by Brian G. Barry, and it was okay. I do wish there was a little bit more ghost shark attacks in this, and a little less of the erotic parts in it, but I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. And Larry and Ghost Shark are available on Kindle Unlimited. And then I ended up reading Ling Hung by Ali Zhang. This was my book club pick for May, but my live show ended up at the beginning of June, and my co-host was the lovely Lauren from Happy Hans Library. I'll leave her channel down below. Definitely go check out her channel if you're into being spooky all year. Her channel is so aesthetically pleasing and fun, and I had fun reading this one and discussing this one with her. It's a little novella. This is actually not this, there's short stories in this that I didn't even read. I think I started to read it and I was like, I don't want to forget what happened in this. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I thought it was really unique and interesting, and yeah, I enjoyed it. I'll link our live show down below as well. Then into the cult books. I had such an interesting experience with this genre. I feel like I've never read a bunch of this genre like back to back, which is weird because you feel like after 4 years of horror booktube I would have, but apparently I didn't. And there was a point in my vlog where I was like, I don't want to stop reading cult books. I don't know if I will ever leave this genre, and then it changes very quickly. It's really funny. But anyways, I started that vlog off with Last Days by Brian Evanson. This was wild. This is about a detective who gets caught up in a dismemberment cult. I loved it. 5 stars. Fantastic. And then I read Devil's Creek by Todd Kessling. I absolutely loved this one as well. It's definitely not for everyone because it does get really wild and crazy, and it's very cosmic, and it's horrific right off the bat. There's look up content warnings for this one for sure, but there is mention of child abuse, horrific child abuse at the beginning of this. So just a heads up. But I freaking had a blast with it. The audio is free on Audible. That's how I listened to it, and then I kind of went along because there's drawings of like, and there's maps and stuff throughout. But there's like every chapter, I believe, has like this symbol, and this is like the cult's symbol and everything. Like it's good. It is good, and my vlog, I rave about it. I had so much fun with this. This is a new favorite. Then I read The Children of Red Peak by Craig DeLuey. This was a really quick listen for me, but I wasn't a huge fan of the ending. I felt like I needed way more from it, and it was just honestly really boring. Nothing really happened, so I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars. Then I read The Lair of the White Worm by Bram Stoker. Was not a fan of this one. I ended up giving this one 1 star. And then I ended the vlog, but The Cemetery Boys by Heather Brewer, and I really enjoyed this one. This is a YA horror cult book, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And then I ended up reading Lost Souls by Poppy Z. Bright, and holy moly, what a ride this was. This was Kitty's book club pick, and I had a lot of fun with this one. Heads up for child abuse in this one. There's a lot of intense child abuse in this. Look up content warnings. I did do like a spoiler-free content warning thing, well, like for a certain chapter in Kitty's Discord, I believe. I was like, I think it's chapter 9 or 10. I was like, heads up, this is happening, and it is a heavy theme throughout the book. So that's something you don't like reading, you're not gonna like this. But this is a vampire book, and it is so like angsty. Like, I felt the angst. I time traveled back in time when I was an angsty teenager, and I was like, where was this book? I would be so unbearable, more unbearable if I read this as a teenager. But it's funny because actually The Cemetery Boys that I read by Heather Brewer is this book is referenced that our main character's reading or something, and I was like, oh my gosh. But yeah, so we're following a couple characters. We're following Ghost and Steve, who are in a band called Lost Souls, and they live in a town called the Lost Mile in North Carolina. Like, the southern vibes are there. Small town southern vibes, like, fuck this town, I hate this place, is there too, which I love. I love that in books too. It's very heavy in Devil's Creek as well. But yeah, I loved that vibe. And then there's this, we're following a boy named Nothing who feels very drawn to this band and how they go about getting there and stuff. It's very graphic and gross and disturbing in the best Billy Martin way possible with excellent writing. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, but I will say I wanted a little bit more. I feel like there's not really like any resolution in this, which I get why there wasn't, but I just wanted like a little bit more from a certain character, and I didn't really get that. But also, I have a new favorite character, Ghost. I absolutely love Ghost. So I was really torn on my rating between a 4 and a 5 for this. I think it's a high 4. I think it's a 4.5. But I don't necessarily know if I want to round up yet, but I am still thinking about it. And then Kitty was my co-host for my June book club pick for the Reaper Book Club, and I'll link our live show down below. For that, we ended up reading The Sun Was Once Mine and Other Occurrences by Eric LaRocca. This is a novella of short stories, and I won't go into too much detail, but I ended up giving it 3 stars, and I'll link the live show down below. And I already said that. I'm just melting here. Ignore me. And then I ended up reading, oh, I totally forgot to talk about freaking Last Days by Adam Neville for my cult horror book reading vlog. It was a journey. This was a journey for me. It's a very long, it's 600 pages, I think, an ebook. So it took me like a couple of days to get through, but I ended up enjoying it. And also, like, not to spoil anything, but and not to say I want to start a cult or anything. I go into this in my vlog, but I'm like, hashtag goals in the end, right? Okay. But it is like a found footage documentary style book, and yeah, there's a lot of creepy stuff that happens right off the bat, and then it kind of gets really slow. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars just because I really liked the ending, and like the reveal was really interesting to me, and there's also like a lot of jump scares on it at the beginning. That was fun. But yeah, 4 stars for Last Days by Adam Neville. And then I read Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter. This is a contemporary book about working in Silicon Valley, or it's a fiction book about working in Silicon Valley and corporate job for a startup and how miserable it is. That was my biggest complaint about this one, is that the main character seemed to just be complaining a lot, which I get. Like, I worked like in a very stressful GM position for over 13 years, and I complained every fucking chance I got. I get it. You will complain about having a stressful job, believe me. And I get why decisions were made in this. I do, but I just did not really like the main character. And I feel like this book and this style of book and the subject matter of it, I feel like you needed a really likable character. Just didn't happen. But I could see why a lot of people like this book. But I ended up giving it 3 stars. And then I believe this was the last book I read. It was Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. And this is a thriller that I thought was going to be more revenge themed, because it literally says revenge is so sweet. I didn't necessarily get big revenge vibes from it, but what happens in this book is kind of crazy, because without getting into detail, my mom experienced this exact thing. Like, it's nothing like super traumatizing, but it is traumatizing. Like, this is how she explained to me like how she was taught to swim. So if you read this and even the premise of it, you probably know. And she was very much against raising me and my siblings this way, or like teaching us how to swim this way. Like, she hated that idea, which it was very common apparently, even if she went through it, to experience this back in the day. But yeah, I ended up giving this 3 stars. It was okay. I ended up listening to the audio, and it had a couple different narrators, I believe, which was fun, and I totally might be wrong about that. But if you're looking for a good summer thriller, easy to listen to, I recommend Darling Girls. Okay, so that was all the books I read in June. I know I haven't been talking about movies in my wrap-ups, that I wanted to talk about movies, but I do talk about a couple movies in my cult horror reading vlog that are cult movies. But yeah, it's linked in the description box down below. I'm just a broken record right now. I have to change my clothes, I feel like, after filming this, and it's only probably been 15 minutes. But anyways, what was your guys' favorite read in June? And I hope you have a fantastic day. Bye.
I've been lost in my own thoughts. I've been lost in my mind. I've been wondering what these ghosts casting. Well, afraid isn't time. Yeah, I've been walking on cold and I've been speaking in